What's up, guys? Special one for you here today. We have Jimvitational play-ins. Last set of the semi-finals here between Kalaveet and Void. Sure to be an exciting one. I'm Watermess, and my co-caster today is another Jimvitational main event invitee. Long-time ADV tournament mainstay and Kalas Invitational 3 champion. Triangles, you can say hi.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome, man. So on the top side today, we've got Kalaveet, known for his ADV ladder achievements and having some great seasons in Advanced League, and he's coming off of a hotly contested series with Darth Tyros last round, where he was able to claw back the win after losing game one. So yeah, definitely deserves to be here. And Triangles, can you tell us a bit about Void?
I sure can. Void is a hugely experienced player and a fantastic one too. He's fresh off of a top campaign in SPL DPP, but he's no slouch in Advance either. He really knows what he's doing in this tier, and I'm very excited to see what he's going to do this series. As for this tournament, he just won a close 2-1 series against Mayo last round, which is available on this channel.
Awesome. Yeah. So both games available on this channel, so please go watch them if you're interested. Let's get into it. So of course, Kalaveet on top, Void on the bottom. We're going to see the leads here in a second. So we've got the Metacham lead and the Salamence lead. Probably the best lead into Metacham there to have Salamence. That's brilliant. And we're going to see a rock slide here. 33%. I think straight off the bat, we can agree that's banded, right?
Yep, that's definitely banded.
Awesome, yeah. So scary Salamence and of course scary Metacham. So exciting game ahead of us for sure. Suicune here, obviously a pretty good answer in the early game to Salamence. And Snorlax is going to be the answer to that. And Metacham's actually going to be a great double there. Really threatening, really good catch on the Snorlax. Of course, you know, you never know what's going to happen there. And he's able to double Metacham in nicely on the Snorlax. We'll see what it hits the Ments here with. And that's 29% for a Brick Break. That's a lot. That's choice banded, I think, there.
Yep, that's also banded.
Yeah, so double banded leads and HP Fly there into the Metagross. We're going to see leftovers. Okay, cool. Really good EQ there from Kalaveet. I think, you know, that's it's a lot there to, you know, just predict anything else to come in, I suppose, and not just mash. Mash is usually the strong move to click, I suppose. So really good to catch the Metagross there with the EQ. And it does a lot.
Yeah, it's a very heads-up play, and damage on the Metagross is huge, because Metagross is the rock resist, and offense loves to damage the rock resist. We'll see whose Metagross is faster, and whether they're getting leftovers.
Definitely. Did you have any thoughts about the team structures so far? We've seen 3 Pokemon revealed in 5 turns on both sides.
I do. I have very strong thoughts about both structures. Kalaveet's team is almost certainly the Ban Manaphy team, with the last 3 being Ments, Magneton, and Snorlax. And Void's team can be a couple of things. It could be a Magneton type structure. It could also be a defensive Starmie type structure.
Right.
And Metagross there is probably going to tell us one way or the other, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we'll see what his Metagross decides to do here then, I suppose. It does get leftovers, so that rules out choice band and possibly makes it more likely to have a Magneton, although we can't be sure. Big explosion here.
That's a nice boom.
Yeah, so KOing the Ments, you know, either side as an offense team, that's really good. Ments is obviously annoying for you as offense with the Intimidate and the speed control, but also it's also a potential sweeper for both, you know. Makes a big impact on the game here. Yeah.
And Kalaveet's Ment was very likely DD if the team is true to the original, and DD is a classic main threat.
Yeah, definitely, especially with Metagross low. So Snorlax comes in, takes an Ice Beam nice and easily there, and could throw out anything here. Body Slam, EQ, Focus Punch, Fire Blast. We're going to see Body Slam into the Metacham. That's a pretty big deal.
That's
able to get power. Yeah. I mean, how do we feel about that?
Well, Metacham is almost out of the game now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Another body slam there into the Metagross. We'll see if he gets a power here.
No, so Metagross is in, and it can fire something off here. We'll see what it wants to do. Reflect. Wow, that's a little different, but it makes sense against Void's physically offensive structure. And
yeah, definitely.
comes in and fires off a Fire Blast into the Coon. So we'll see if Coon wants to attack here from behind the Reflect, start setting up.
Oh, that's a really big double to Medicham.
Yeah, double.
Yeah.
And he's behind the Reflect, so he's surviving Slam, and he can fire off a move.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage there. He's going to get a lot more value out of that Medicham than we were expecting. So that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's definitely value.
So that Reflect generated a lot of value there, which is actually really cool to see.
Yeah, it was a really nice sequence from Kalaveet.
Oh, big power potentially here.
Yeah, that's a very big power.
Yeah, especially if we start seeing sort of Suicune Surfs coming through later on in the game. That can always make things difficult for Snorlax to know when it's sort of safe to be able to beat Suicune still, and when it's really at reduced odds.
Yeah. And
sorry.
Yeah, Kalaveet's getting up that Reflect again, and it's look at how effective it is against just nullifying the Ments.
Yeah, you'd normally expect, you know,
very tanky.
Yeah, definitely. You'd think that CB EQ would be running through a player after they lose their Ments, but Reflect is patching that hole up quite nicely here. Magneton, though, going to be able to put an end to the Reflect shenanigans.
Yeah, he's going to get the trap, so that's down now. And Void's Hera looks like a potential threat still.
Definitely. Yeah, it's looking like a big threat, actually, as soon as that Reflect goes down. Big EQ there, though.
Yeah, Houndoom's gone. Void's going to have to go Lax. Oh, he's going straight to Hera.
Okay, I mean, the Reflect does wear off. I mean, Swarm boosted Mega Horn will do it as well. That's a lot of damage, but of course now it's all in on that paralyzed Lax to be able to finish off. You know, quite probably.
He can go Mag.
Yeah.
And Kalaveet can sack Lax and then try for the Mag Stare down.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think it's more likely that Kalaveet has HP Fire than Void, given the Houndoom. And I think
very possibly.
Yeah. Oh, there's a HP Fire as well, actually.
Got it.
Stand corrected. Rain Dance here, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, setting up a Coon.
So we'll see if Suicune can do it. I mean, first off, it's got to be quicker than the Magneton, right? Although we're going to probably assume it will be.
Yeah, but it showed Ice Beam. And they tend to be faster than Magneton if they have Ice Beam. Oh, no.
Interesting choice of T-Wave as well. I would have thought that Thunderbolt would have done a lot to the Suicune there.
Not going for the damage is...
Yeah. So we've got a proper wheelchair battle here. They're going to... Yeah, there's the power's already coming out.
Boom powered. Void's setting up. Nice and efficient.
Got to do a bit more damage, especially, I don't know, I mean, we haven't really seen too many hits onto this Suicune yet, but I think it was pretty bulky when that Mence hit it, turn 1. And another boost here with the Curse.
Oh, Void definitely 2-hit KOs from here, I think.
Depending on his sort of EVs and his move choice. Oh, there's a crit, and it's going to take it straight out. So there you go. Well, that's game 1 there.
Not bad.
Yeah, so Snorlax pulls through in the end. I think that shows maybe to some degree just how strong Cursed Snorlax can be when there's no sand up. It just sort of came in on the Suicune all throughout the game, shrugged off all of the attacks, and then still cleaned up 2 Pokemon in the end game as well, right? That's pretty nice.
Yeah, and I thought there were like a couple of interesting decisions made by both players in the end game. As Kalaveet, if Kalaveet Snorlax had Boom, I might have considered trying to conserve it and then going for a Mag speed tie. But like very possibly that Lax was Curse Rest.
Sure.
I also thought Void going for the Hera Mega Horn just to take the Lax low as opposed to trying to play Hera as a as a win con and trying to fight Lax with Lax or even fight Lax with Mag was a really good choice, and it was good foresight.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that Megahorn did a lot more than maybe we were expecting. I think maybe he had that information that we didn't, that he was in swarm range there, but it worked out really well for him, obviously. So that's brilliant. Should we head into game 2?
Absolutely.
Okay, so getting into game 2 here. Let's get going. So Void on the bottom again, Kalaveet on the top. We're going to see a Tar and Jirachi lead this time. So again, 2 different leads. Obviously, always a really interesting turn 1. I haven't paused it quite in time. As you can see, the hidden power is already going on.
It's coming out.
Yeah, I mean, CB potentially, or just a bulky HP Fighting or HP Grass could all be decent plays for a Jirachi here. And Tar could be anything as well, obviously.
Yeah. It's almost certainly fighting.
Yeah,
it's bulky fighting.
Nice. So we see a trade there, and I think that's, potentially good for both players. We've not seen any more information yet. Thunder miss here could be a big deal, potentially, especially if that got power and it's information too. Void's not going to know how bulky that Zapdos is. He's safely able to get the Celebi in though, which is good.
Yeah. The information that Void can get is that the Zapdos is slower than his Jirachi though.
That's true. That's very true. So he knows it's pretty bulky. Nice, yeah.
Conserving Celebi HP, scouting the hidden power. And Void looks comfortable enough taking a Toxic, so possibly Refresh on this.
Potentially, although Ice Beam not commonly Refresh, right?
Yeah, not commonly Refresh, and like a relatively strong Ice Beam too on the Zap, I'd say.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Maybe that perp is Toxic for life.
I mean, thankfully, taking that Toxic, he's already shipped the Tar quite considerably. So he doesn't have to worry as much about the perp switching into that long term.
Well, so that's a strong Thunder there.
Definitely a strong Thunder. Surely quite a lot of special attack investment on that Jirachi potentially, or maybe that's just raw damage actually. I'm not sure. I don't know the Thunder Jirachi calcs off the top of my head. But Celebi's going to be important. Yeah? Okay, cool. Yeah. Good to know. Leech Seed into the Aero, that's a pretty big deal considering how low HP the Void Rock resists are right now. And Kalaveet senses that he might not get a lot of damage that turn and he makes a good switch into Gengar. Tar potentially could be a really bad thing here, although it's not Pursuit as we see a switch into Zard on the Wisp. Okay, interesting series of turns. I think we've got quite a lot of information about Void's team now and quite a lot of information about Kalaveet's. I mean, Kalaveet's looks very much like the so-called El Clasico team that is sort of quite well known to be used by HCLAT, but then of course by many other people, as it's a generally pretty solid team there. And the last there, I believe, is Pert, isn't it? And then any insights onto what you think might be Void's last triangles here?
I would say it's off me.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good guess. I mean, some sort of sweeper that's going to take advantage of the mixed attacks on Jirachi and Charizard's breaking power, I think is a good guess. And of course, offensive Pert usually lends itself as well to that kind of thing. We'll run the game and find out. Flamethrower, interesting. Potentially this is a Toxic Zard or something like that, although I'm not sure. Unusual to not see Fire Blast on Charizard. Taking a double edge here on the Swampert, that's a really big deal. I think...
yeah, dead here, really.
Yeah, I think it's possibly even in the sackable position. Like after Spike and Toxic damage, you're unlikely to even be taking a slide. But we'll see what Void decides to do here. It's going to be a switch to Tar. That's going to work out quite nicely for him because he's not going to take too much from that. I suppose it's nice to keep the Swampert as a sack. Lets you scout the arrow move. Definitely. And just a small amount of damage with the Rock Slide there into Swampert. And it's going to be Cloyster last here, so potentially we're both a little bit wrong there. Makes you wonder what Void's sweeping option is here. But he's going to get some nice surf damage onto the Gengar, and I think that's actually really useful, considering that now we know Zard is Flamethrower. He might need that extra damage.
Yeah, I feel like Void's in a pretty bad spot. The Cloy is not the right last to have here.
Yeah.
Void needs speed.
Yeah, definitely. Really good switches here, though.
Breathing down his throat. Yeah, it's good pivoting. Void's doing well to stay in the game.
Yeah, I mean, that Swampert was thought to be only a sack, of course, and now he's just managed to get a free Skarm out of that. So that's a really big deal.
Yeah, it's a really nice sequence.
Definitely.
And yeah, keeping the pert. It's like it slides, and then you got a Jirachi that can come in.
Yeah, definitely. So Tar's going to be presumably sacked here. I don't know if HP fighting KOs from this range. I don't remember how much we saw it do earlier. Definitely, yeah. Although if he's confident it would have done enough, then I suppose he clicks it there. His pert is starting to look like a problem too with that spike up.
Yeah, Celebi is on a timer very much.
Yeah,
so I feel like it's got to show recover here if it has it. It needs it. No, oh, that's not good.
Yeah, probably trying to catch the arrow.
And yeah, T-Tar takes Celebi down, so now the floodgates are really starting to open here. Pert's looking threatening. Zapdos looking threatening. Arrow's looking as dangerous as ever, and Void is going to be hard pushed to win this one, I think.
Yeah, I think I've got to agree with you there. Yeah. T-Bolt there, going to take out the Cloyster, slowly losing Pokemon here. Tar's still barely out of range of that Zapdos, but we're
getting so healthy, it can just come in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think maybe as Void here, you might be regretting not getting the layer up earlier with Cloyster when you had that one chance. Not saying that would have put you a whole lot closer to the victory, but it might have given you just a little something to leverage versus that part. I don't know whether or not the Tar can eventually break through here, maybe if it was DD. But Rock Slide there.
Void is doing his best with like the Zard double and then making Kalaveet press the not fully accurate move. But yeah, going with the DD, have to try something. Maybe HP Grass crit.
It's possibly not a particularly great matchup for Void's team as well, given that Charizard in general into Aerodactyl, it's probably one of the poorer offensive styles for Zard to face, as we see Tar taken out there.
Yeah, through no fault of its own. Like, played very well, actually. Zard let Arrow in twice, and just Arrow in the one spike was enough to do it. And we're going to see Garth finish things off with a boom here. Yeah,
nicely done. Nice clean game from Kalaveet. He takes a decent matchup and makes it look, relatively safe and plays that out nicely. And of course, now it's on Void to respond, and it's anyone's game for game 3.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, into game 3. Okay, Mence into Tar. I mean, both players ideally want to switch if they're playing safe, and they do. Neither player wanting to risk anything particularly there. Okay, looking at options here, I think when I first saw Milo there, normally you say Jirachi's a little bit favoured. Having potential for electric moves or just status in general, that Miller would then have to click refresh and give up a free turn. And of course, Milo could potentially have Hypnosis, but we see it click Surf here. Surf and Body Slam, so it's quite defensive set from both players.
Yeah, it's assumedly the standard Milo. I mean, I think that Surf is like a tiny bit passive because, Milo can be a bit of a liability against Calm Mind type Rachis, but ultimately that kind of Calm Mind Rachi isn't threatening immediately, so
definitely
can afford to carry.
I do think that getting off relatively all right there with the refresh, but if you get full powered there and Void happens to have like a Zapdos or something, you could be in a position where paralyzed Milotic is staring at Mixed Ments, and that's no fun. So potentially risky to take status early on.
And there's a Reflect meta again. Look at that.
And
the Lax is setting up right in his face.
Controversial,
threat,
potentially. There's the quit. I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
That's a massive deal.
Yeah, I think when you see Snorlax switch into Melodic early on in the game, it can be a sign that a team might struggle a little bit with Melodic, because Snorlax doesn't pressure Melodic too much outside of Curse and Boom, right? Especially when Sand is up, it's, you know, it can get chipped down. So I think, you know, I suppose he does have the wish support, so it's not exactly a desperate move or anything. But losing that Snorlax early on, when it looked like the main answer to Melodic from the way he's playing it, could spell disaster here for Void.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that was a rest Snorlax from the way Void was comfortable trying to like fight meta and take damage early on.
Yeah, potentially, yeah. Jirachi's in here, I guess, looking for Fire Punch or something, and he will into Melodic there. Rewarded with a burn, thankfully, so I guess that will help him in that Melodic's going to have to click Refresh here. We'll find out what his next best answer is, and it's the Suicune, okay.
Which is quite a passive one, because it's going to be forced to rest.
Yeah, and it has to click Calm Mind a few times before Melodic is forced to switch, which is not ideal, obviously. And here's the Blissey for Kalaveet.
So, like, you got the kind of divide and conquer approach here. Presumably, this Blissey's going to be Calm Mind here and be able to beat Rest Talk. And then you got the Milo plus physical attackers to beat the non-sleep talk Coons. So that's kind of like a classic way of beating Coon.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, obviously, CM Bliss is favored versus a Suicune if it's Rest Talk, but will struggle if it's Raw. But here we're going to see the Sleep Talk. So
it's shown it, So Kalaveet is happy. Kalaveet likes to see that.
I think I agree with you there. I think that's probably one of the better Suicunes to see at the moment if you're Kalaveet, for sure.
Yeah, and Void's just going for it. Maybe Void really feels he's like out of options already.
I think,
can do it.
I mean, losing Snorlax early on obviously doesn't put you in a great spot with that regard, I suppose. But hey, I mean, if there's two Pokemon that can bust through their counters with one timely crit, it's Snorlax and Suicune, so he's given himself at least the best chance of doing it by having both.
Yeah. And he's giving himself quite a few chances to crit here. I think he's going to be able to press about 5 or 6 serves before Bliss forces it to rest.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I actually think it's given up and decided not to do it and wanted to threaten Boom. Kalaveet's got to respect that.
Yeah. Do we see a Boom? We actually see an EQ, which is ballsy, obviously. But really well held. So it's a pretty big deal not to Boom there, obviously, given that we know Suicune is not favored versus Blissey. He might have to pull that trick again. Going for some body slam powers here, fair enough, and he does get one.
Yeah, I got a feeling Void's last is T-Tar. Oh, there we go.
And it is. Void's a toxic, so that's pretty nice for Void, obviously. And I'm going to fish for some crunch drops.
It's going to be this stat.
I mean,
looks like it's 5 another, so.
Yeah. I mean, I think it makes sense to be removing Gengars when you've got the 2 rest sweepers there. I think that's a good set to bring. Yeah. A Spadef drop obviously would hurt Milo quite a lot, but Surf is doing a ton in return. Interesting turn here. I think you're looking at a Spadef drop to Milo. You're looking at a very low HP Tar. I think if I'm Kalaveet, I'm looking for an exit angle with this Melodic. You don't really want to be risking those full powers and that Spadef drop any longer. This next crunch will do a lot with that Spadef drop, and you could, of course, get full powered. But at the same time, which you're risking the pursuit. Yeah. I think, I think if you're Kalaveet, you want to switch, and if you're Void, you want to pursuit that, but we'll see what happens. No pursuit, just a crunch into the Tar.
Yeah, good patience from Kalaveet.
Yeah, definitely.
2 or 3 turns. 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 2 or Both
yeah.
players going good boys, but Kalaveet started actually looking pretty threatening.
Yeah,
Just gonna take that
yeah.
in, yeah.
I think maybe these last few times have been an example of how Crunch Tar can sometimes just click the one button and get a lot more done than people were expecting. Back to the CM war again, and we'll see if either player can pull off a funky crit one more time. Actually, we had the one earlier with the Metagross, which was a pretty big deal. And I think at this point in the game, you know, other than Explosion, it is a crit for the game, potentially. So we'll see.
Yeah, online is just breathing down Void's throat.
Definitely. Void needs a crit or to boom the Claydol on it to be able to feasibly.
There we go.
That's a big deal.
Does Kuhn go to the house here?
Potentially. I mean, you've still got 2 potential explosions on Kalaveet's team. So if Kalaveet can force a rest, maybe he can go for those. I mean, Metagross is pretty healthy, but this is also a plus 4, probably modest Suicune based on the damage we've seen, right? So, big crit with the Dragon Claw. And Surf's not going to be able to KO the Ments, so crit in return is going to find Void some space, but at plus... Yeah, at plus 4. Wow.
That did nothing.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a roll or what, but that's a big deal. And now Metagross has got its opportunity to click Explosion and force this thing out. There will be a switch and Explosion from Metagross. I think it's a safe play from both players.
Kalaveet can't hold the boom there.
Yeah.
But Void really does well to pull out and go to right.
Definitely.
No, I think Void is pretty comfortable here.
Yeah. Especially revealing Wish there with the Ments, that means probably no HP Grass. And that's only good for Suicune's later setup opportunities, right?
Yeah, and living the Fire Blast.
Yeah, very Spadef Jirachi. The Forestry is going to come in here and set up a layer, but obviously getting KO'd by a Fire Punch is not putting you in a great spot. Melodic can, of course, recover, but it's going to give that Suicune a re-entry. I think spiking up once was actually not a bad play, really, all things considered. Mentioning on the Doll here, I think Doll can just spin and then boom, perhaps. So
yeah, it's a smart Doll by Void denying the Mention on Queen.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think, you know, at full HP, not too worried about what exactly, you know, happens with that Doll at this point in the game. You just want to get that Suicune woken back up again.
Yeah, you're just playing super safe with Kuhn and Rachi.
Yeah.
Making sure to keep Rachi to pass wishes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Kalaveet's... Kalaveet's done a good job.
Going down.
Yeah, definitely. Even though that Ments has managed to get a wish back onto itself somehow, it's still unable to break through Void, so... Oh, big crit there, though. On the turn, he body slams.
It.
Wow. Very eventful.
Oh.
No body slam power, though, so the Ments remains still a threat. It is in range of Surf now, though, obviously.
Yeah.
And we'll see the Tar Sack. Stalls out another Fire Blast PP. How many is it at now? We're looking at 3 Fire Blast PP still, so still able to finish off the Jirachi quite likely from there. And Void's going to threaten out there with the Doll. He's actually going to explode into the Fortress, okay. And Jirachi in here is going to be able to force out that Fori. I think from Kalaveet's position...
Wow.
Okay, wow. Let's just break this down for a second. So,
a lot happened in those
turns. A lot happened in those turns. So I think we're maybe expecting a Fire Punch to come out, boogers, or like a Body Slam, because it would KO the Ments with Sand, and, you know, put Void in a position where you know, he's got the Wish Jirachi that isn't killable, and then also the Suicune that isn't killable. But instead, he's going to Wish and go all in on the Suicune. I think that's got its own advantages. If the Fortress booms, Suicune's very likely to live and then receive a Wish. Would you agree with that, Triangles?
Yeah, I would. I also think, like, if we go a turn back, the Clay boom might have been too early.
Yeah, I mean, seeking backwards here for last. Sorry, it's reloading the whole battle for some reason. But
I don't think Clay had to boom that turn.
Yeah, it's got a lot of HP and it's going to live 2 hits from Mence, so it might have been a little bit early.
It's better than I meant still, and I mean this turn is wild to me. It's pretty ballsy EQ.
Yeah.
But I mean, the question is, if there's even boom. I mean, if it's not,
yeah,
it wins.
I mean, there's the switch, so that would maybe make you think that it might not be boom.
Well, also it's getting a wish pass to it,
yeah,
right? So
yeah, there's also that.
But like, you would just attack then at that point.
Yeah.
With EQ and go for it on the second time round. But
yeah,
I think it's not boom, and Kuhn is just gonna win.
Yeah. So there's the 2 sleep talks now, so we can get a turn to wake up, and that's a voice sack.
Yeah.
Here's Milotic.
Well, Milo comes back, but I mean, Kuhn just goes to max.
Yes,
and...
definitely. Or even just sees if it full powers. It's gonna go for a toxic and die to sand there. So I think
trying to min-max the turns.
Unless we see some mega crit here, which we don't.
Yeah,
that's gonna be
60.
That's gonna be game void there. Very nice. Wow. I mean, what an eventful last game there.
There was a lot happening.
Yeah.
We barely got into it.
I think, you know, Snorlax was really quite well favoured in this matchup, potentially, especially considering that we saw Crunchtar. It was almost certainly an EQ lax. So, with no boom on the Fortress, it was going to have the tools to muscle past Metagross and Tyranitar in the long run. But of course, we saw Void duel the Metagross early on and lose that fight, so he was forced to go for that crit with the crits with the Suicune, and able to pull through on that end game. But wow, what a game!
Yeah, I thought both players played really well the whole series, and I liked the team choices from both players as well, apart from maybe Void's Game 2 team. I felt like the cloister just kind of didn't really make sense there.
Yeah, I think perhaps maybe he had a couple of really good trading Pokemon and that didn't really benefit too much from the spikes, and maybe needed a little bit more in terms of ways to get that cloister in earlier, perhaps, because it did, of course, end up being the 6th revealed Pokemon, which is not a good spot for your spiker, right? But then, of course, looking at Kalaveet's team, I'd say that in this game, it's a pretty nicely constructed Fortress team, and actually even then you've got another example of a game where Fortress only gets to come in and spike very near the end of the game, which is obviously a shame, but sometimes that's just the nature of what these games look like, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a really solid Fortress structure. I like the Reflect Metagross on it. It's I mean, it actually, like, it's good against Lax.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it crit the Lax there, but it, like, denies EQ Lax for a bit longer, which can be quite a big threat to the forest structures.
Yeah, I think the Reflect in general was actually quite an interesting tech used by Kalaveet a few times in this series, and maybe something that I'll have a look into myself at some point, because it's really interesting. I've never seen it on Metagross used that much. I think usually you see it on Suicune, so that's really interesting to see there.
Yeah. I mean, you sometimes have a hard time not just mashing with Metagross because it's such a strong move, but I mean, I really like Reflector. I'm stealing that for sure.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for joining me for these games, Triangles, and I hope the viewers at home enjoyed the narrations today as well. That's it from us today, guys. We'll see you very soon for the finals.